because, of course, we are all of the time very different. All of the time we're changing. We cannot not change. We're undergoing biological and physiological shifts and changes all of the time, a kind of metamorphosing, if you like. You know, it's long been known that we actually make a new liver every 6 weeks. We make a new stomach lining every 5 days. We have new brain cells every year. A whole new skeleton every 3 months. Even our DNA is changing every 6 weeks. Nothing remains unchanged. You know, there's that very derogatory term, a leopard cannot change its spots. And it's possible that such a derogatory term has maybe been levelled at yourself in the past. It's a judgment, of course, but it's a very false judgment because, in fact, a leopard does change its spots, like everything is changing all of the time. And you, of course, are no exception to the rule. No matter what your past experiences, as you start to tell your preferred story, the truth about yourself, then your physiology begins to change with it. And it will do so with or without your cooperation. But of course, it will certainly do so in a far more accelerated manner if it does have your cooperation. Not convinced? Well, what other than an erroneous belief followed by a very, very dominant thought and a lot of repetitious behaviour on your part could possibly make you feel that you, and only you, are an exception to the rule of life? Now, here's the really good news. Biologists used to claim that we are each born with a set of genes that are fixed and unchangeable, i.e. determining our human behaviour, all of it, from there on. And oddly enough, although that is an erroneous belief, it still is the foundational belief that you find in many addiction treatment, addiction recovery type programs. However, the new science of epigenetics has shattered that ill-informed dogma altogether, proven it false. The great news is you're not stuck with your genes. And we now know through that science that just as there isn't a gene determining your height, there is no such thing as an addiction gene either. Rather, genes are being constantly switched on and switched off by the environment that you find yourself placed in. The people, the conversations, the experiences, the interactions, the relationships. However, the greatest environment, the most powerful environment, the environment that we literally transport with us, is the internal environment, the environment of our thoughts, of our beliefs, and of our behaviours that translate into our life situations and our life experiences. And so it's very, 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 very important that we actually constantly make sure that that internal environment is being given the new message of what we prefer in our life. And immediately, biologically and physiologically, everything else will fall in tandem with that preferred message that we send to our very self. All of that, as well as the fears we possess, the relationships that we have, that we focus on, that the interactions that we are having day to day, all form that which is constantly undergoing change. As soon as we become aware of that, then we can become the agents of change about ourselves. That's the empowered being that we are. That's not how powerless, but how very powerful we are as human beings, once we bring that into our conscious awareness. So having a family history of alcoholism or of substance abuse doesn't automatically mean at all that you will automatically inherit the very same experience. For a time in those early formative years, depending on the environment that you were born to, of course you will have mimicked those that are constantly in your space, so to speak, and there will be a certain amount of that which will have definitely been interpreted in your genetic code. However, once we become aware of that, the new message that we continue to give to our genes will fall in tandem with the power of that message that we can select and elect to give to our very selves. So, very, very important for us to recognize this. And I don't want you to waste another second being fearful of the fact that you have been led to believe that you can do nothing about your addictions. There is no such thing as an addiction gene. They too can be turned off by your own perceptions and by how now you choose to see your place in the world. Make sure again that you make it a very rightful one, a one that you feel totally comfortable with, a one that has a belonging naturally built into it. Life does not have an agenda. Life has not left you out of anything. Know that to be true. And so this is an example of how you might begin to give that new message to yourself. Speak it to yourself, either when you're out walking, when you're in the car, when you're in silent sitting, when you're in meditation. Do it in whichever way you wish, but do it constantly. Do it all the time, very diligently, very earnestly, giving yourself back to your very self, the truth of who you are. Perhaps you now want to just join me in it. This is how to speak that new message, that true message, again to yourself, to every one of your 75 million cells that are waiting to hear the new message you want to give to it, and the green light you want to give to every one of them to start falling into tandem with your new message about your very self. It's natural for my body to feel well. It's natural for myself to feel free from difficulty, from tension. It's natural for me to be at peace in mind and heart and in my cellular body all of the time, whatever I'm doing, with whomever I'm with, wherever I'm going, to be in alignment with life itself. And you can make up and add to that message, but speak it, and speak it regularly. And let this life message that I'm sharing with you today become your message. And let only expansion become your life.